And at number 10, Cole. Cole is by no means the prettiest version of the Hulk. He is described as the Hulk's Hulk, the monster that the Hulk has inside of him. And he is pretty darn evil. Cole is the result of sadness rather than rage. The dark gray creature comes out when Hulk is sad, giving him a serious power boost, making him larger in size, even gives him some nifty claws. He wants nothing more than to bathe in the blood of innocents and cause mass destruction. His cruelty is the opposite of the Hulk, who often acts out of heroic needs. Now, this Hulk is also proven to be a bit of a cannibal, having tried to eat Nova once upon a time. Eventually, he was banished for good thanks to Dr. Doom, Scarlet Witch, White Skull, Steve Rogers, and Brother Voodoo. And at number 9, War Hulk. War Hulk may not be a true alternate since he hails from 616, but it is a different kind of Hulk, that's for sure. During the Onslaught story event, Bruce Banner and the Hulk were split into two separate beings. The Hulk caught the attention of Apocalypse, who decided he would make a great inclusion to his Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Not only did Hulk get decked out with some new armor, he was also given new power thanks to a celestial energy boost. Eventually, he came to his senses and was able to break free of Apocalypse's grasp on him. And at 8, Lizard Hulk. Bruce Banner of Earth 19919 is also known as Lizard Hulk. Now, initially on this Earth, he was infected with the spider virus and managed to rewrite his DNA in order to prevent the Spider Queen having control over him. He was given Spider-Man villain Lizard's serum and was transformed from a Hulk that had 6 arms to a Hulk that was a giant lizard. Essentially, this new version has the powers of the Hulk combined with the powers of Lizard, meaning he can climb walls, he now has claws, and he can telepathically communicate with all forms of reptilian life within a 2-mile radius. In at 7, Skulk. Skulk is the amalgamation of Solomon Grundy and, of course, Hulk. Solomon Grundy being the DC Batman's Rogue Gallery villain. Skulk was created when Bruce Banner, a scientist experimenting with radiation, had an experiment go haywire, accidentally fusing himself with Solomon Grundy in the process. Essentially, this amalgam has all the powers of Hulk and Solomon Grundy combined, which is kind of a major level up for Grundy if we're being honest. Banner can also transform from his human form to Skulk at will, although it was never confirmed that he can just transform back at his command. Now, this also means that whenever Skulk dies, just like Grundy, he'll be reborn, with the swamp from his origin creating a new incarnation of him. And at number 6, the Old Man Logan Hulk from Earth 807128. Pappy Banner is a version of the Hulk who many think went gradually insane over time thanks to radiation exposure after supervillains had managed to conquer the Earth. He eventually took over the state of California, renaming it Hulkland, and mated with his first cousin She-Hulk in order to create an inbred family of younger Hulks known as the Hulk Gang. When Banner has Logan's family killed, Logan seeks out revenge, killing each and every one of Banner's family. The two eventually face off, with Banner fighting against Logan in his human form at first, having all of the superhuman strength and resilience of the Hulk. Eventually, after taking several hits from Wolverine and his claws, he transforms into the Hulk and immediately heals. He then swallows Wolverine whole, but that does not go over well. Wolverine claws his way out of the Hulk's body, eventually killing him in the process, with his wounds seemingly not healing thanks to old age presumably weakening his healing factor. And at number 5, Maestro from Earth 9200. Maestro is the Hulk from an alternate future timeline, 100 years into the future. He's a version of the big green monster who has Banner's intelligence and some of his greener half's more malevolent personality traits combined. He came to be after nuclear war caused most superpowered individuals to die, and left the human race borderline extinct. But that's where Maestro comes in. He begins to rule over the planet, now a place he calls dystopia. Now he's stronger than the regular Hulk thanks to the radiation he absorbed from the war. And at number 4, Venom Hulk. Back in 1989, in issue 4 of the second volume of the What If comics, there was a story in which was titled What If the Alien Costume Possessed Spider-Man? Long story short, after Secret Wars and Peter Parker bonded with the symbiote that would later become Venom, he didn't end up going to the Fantastic Four this time, causing the symbiote to completely bond with Parker. Eventually, the symbiote escapes, jumping ship from Parker to the Hulk, noting how incredibly powerful Hulk was. Venom was able to control Hulk's mind easily and starts bouncing around, fighting Avengers and leaping into the air with a big old toothy grin on his face. But unfortunately for the Hulk, the symbiote was using him too, and later found his way over to Thor. And at number 3, Infernal Hulk. Infernal Hulk from Earth 11638 is straight up demonic, actually though. So on this alternate Earth, Bruce Banner becomes the Sorcerer Supreme and separates himself from the Hulk. Because he's kinda petty, he ends up banishing Hulk to Hell, where Hulk is influenced and mingles with a bunch of demons. He eventually returns from Hell and has changed quite a bit, becoming what is termed as the Infernal Hulk. His skin is orange, he's notably more demonic in appearance, and is solely driven by revenge, using new demonic abilities to try to kick Banner's butt. Eventually though, in order to save the world from the Infernal Hulk, who has all of the same powers as a super OP'd Hulk Hulk plus demonic abilities, Banner decides that he can reverse the banishing spell, returning him and Hulk together as one. He then has his own neck snap before Infernal Hulk could try to take over his body. What a way to go. And at number 2, Zombie Hulk. Zombie Hulk, or rather Bruce Banner of Earth 2149, was initially contacted by Nick Fury to aid S.H.I.E.L.D. in the resistance against those infected by the zombie plague. This is the Zombieverse, guys. We never actually see Hulk get infected, but we do see him lay siege to Castle Doomstat. Over time, Hulk and several other infected heroes, Spider-Man, Power Man, and Giant Man, eat Silver Surfer, and eventually Galactus, inheriting the power cosmic in the process. He becomes a member of the zombie Galacti, which each possess a share of the power cosmic, using it to travel around the universe, devouring planets until the universe is practically empty. Zombie Thanos would then show up and join the zombie Galacti, and complain about how they had consumed most of the known universe, especially Hulk. Zombie Hulk did not let that go easily. He killed Thanos by smashing his head in, justifying the murder by saying he now had a reason to eat for two. And finally, in at number 1, Captain Universe Hulk. Captain Universe Hulk appeared in the Captain Universe Limited series, in which various superheroes had been endowed with the Uni-Power. In this one, issue 1 of volume 1 of the series, we see Captain Universe, who is suffering from both memory and power loss, bond with Bruce Banner. This is all an attempt to have Bruce find a scientist who knows about the Uni-Power. But once they find that scientist, Hulk ends up having to use that power to stop AIM from trying to use the Uni-Power, and then subvert it for their own means. The scientist ends up dying in the process, and Bruce is blamed for the crime, which is how the series segues into Matt Murdock getting the Uni-Power, after Bruce calls him up for legal advice. Anywho, why is this version the most powerful? When the Hulk is endowed with the Uni-Power, his powers and abilities are massively enhanced. He is capable of manipulating energy and matter at the atomic level. He also has Univision, which is kind of a cosmic awareness that senses things happening at a great distance, and even things happening on a subatomic level. While embracing the Uni-Power, the Hulk even notes that this is, I quote, "Hulk is strongest one there is." He also kind of looks like a super buff Dr. Manhattan, so hey, there you go. Starting off our list, in at number 10, Greenskin Smash Troll. That is a name. Let's begin with an alternate version of the Hulk from Earth, spelled E-U-R-T-H, who first appeared in Avatar's Covenant of the Shield issue 1 back in 2000, an alternate reality filled with medieval and magic-inspired heroes. Greenskin Smash Troll, still a great name, is a troll version of the Hulk, immense in size, the mightiest member of the Champions of the Realm, Earth's equivalent to the Avengers. After his wife and unborn child were murdered though, he leaves the Champions and becomes an alcoholic, as one does. But mixing alcohol and the Hulk isn't really the smartest of moves. He ends up going on drunken rampages, which you can imagine don't really pan out all that well. And at number 9, Intelligent Design God Hulk from Earth 2713. This Hulk is from an issue called What If Planet Hulk Volume 1, in which various hypothetical stories pertaining to the Planet Hulk storyline are explored. In one story in particular, called What If the Hulk Landed on the Peaceful Planet that Reed Richards had promised? A quite long and very literal title. We see a Hulk who ends up doing exactly that, landing on a peaceful planet, the one that Reed Richards had actually promised instead of Sakaar. He ends up taking a liking to the small alien species that lives on said peaceful planet, and ends up defending them from their predator species and eventually watches them evolve and gain sentience. So of course they see him as a god. And while he may still have just all the regular strength and same abilities as the 616 Hulk, out of context and to this alien species, he is literally a god, helping cultivate life. As gods do. In at number 8, Aboriginal Hulk from House of M. On Earth 58163, the alternate reality caused by the actions of Scarlet Witch that led to the House of M story event, Hulk still gains his powers thanks to being exposed to gamma radiation. Except, General Thunderbolt Ross believes that Banner is actually a spy of Magneto's, which causes a confrontation between the Hulk and the military, causing the Hulk to flee. So where does he go? Well, Australia. And what does he do? He joins a group of Aboriginal people living his days in peace. And what makes him stronger than the 616 Hulk? Well, he possesses the capacity for superhuman strength beyond the limits of any other humanoid being. And aside from how the gamma radiation normally affected his body, this Hulk has added bone, muscle, and tissue to his body from presumably an extra-dimensional force. He's also zen as fuck, something that surely helps when he needs to defend his tribe against Magneto's ruling totalitarian mutant government and AIM, which come a-knockin' and threaten his tribe. Sad Hulk. And at number 7, The Incredible Thing. From Earth 295 we have The Incredible Thing, a combination of Bruce Banner and The Thing, if that wasn't plainly obvious. This is a world that was tormented by apocalypse. Banner was desperate to create an army of super soldiers in order to combat the villain and his most deadliest mutants, but all of his experiments were unsuccessful. That is, until he tested on himself, causing him to change between the Thing and his human self at will. So what makes this version of Banner stand out? Well, unlike his 616 counterpart, he retains his intelligence as the Incredible Thing. But his rage does temper it though, and he can transform at will, which is pretty dope. And at 6, Hulk the End. Hulk the End is a one-shot written by Peter David that explores a possible future for the Hulk. It is part of a series that explores conclusive alternate future storylines for multiple Marvel characters. Now in this story, the Hulk survives a nuclear holocaust, and is the last individual left on Earth. Both Banner and the Hulk aren't overjoyed by the fact that they are each other's only companion for the rest of days. This version of the Hulk though shows how resilient the character is, with him constantly being attacked or harmed by the after effects of the nuclear holocaust. Essentially, he's eaten a lot by radioactive cockroaches, constantly forced to re-heal and re-heal and re-heal over again. Banner eventually dies though, leaving the Hulk alone to roam the empty planet forever. Which at first he's like, yeah, dope, and then realizes that he is in fact alone forever and says he feels cold, which is kind of a really tragic way to end. Poor Hulk. And at number 5, Ultimate Hulk. The ultimate version of the Hulk and Bruce Banner may be very similar to the 616 Hulk in terms of power and strength, but there is one major defining feature between the two that makes a pretty impactful difference. The Ultimate Universe, known as Earth 1610, is a different take on many of the superheroes and villains we know and love, taking their characters in alternate and quite aggressive directions. Earth 1610 Bruce Banner has none of the redeeming qualities that his 616 counterpart boasts. Instead, he's selfish, self-absorbed, and used an experimental version of the super soldier serum to transform himself into the Hulk, who ends up being hardcore homicidal. He goes wild on a rampage, murdering people right, left, and center. He's also a cannibal, so there's that. No bueno. And at 4, Hulk 2099. The Marvel 2099 imprint took place in an alternate future timeline, and featured a new character becoming the Hulk. In 2099 Unlimited Issue 1, we see a film producer named John Eisenhart get exposed to gamma radiation by a cult worshipping the original Hulk. The cult's plan is to create a new Hulk, and Eisenhart ends up becoming the Hulk after he tries to get a story for his production company out of them. So what's different about this Hulk compared to his 616 counterpart? Well, Eisenhart has the same abilities as the regular Hulk, which increase in power based on his emotional state. But he also has razor-sharp fangs and claws that are capable of cutting through steel. Now initially the character was able to control his transformations, but over time this changed, with the Hulk emerging when he was enraged despite being the more heroic personality of the two. Eisenhart was a dick. It's kind of like a reverse of Bruce Banner there. Not saying the Hulk is a dick, but you know, he's had his mean moments. In at number 3, Orange Hulk. Orange Hulk appears in the Age of Apocalypse alternate reality, Earth 295, created by Legion when he went back in time to kill Magneto, but instead accidentally kills his father, Charles Xavier. So this is a world without Charles Xavier, essentially. The Orange Hulk's powers come from solar radiation rather than gamma radiation, and he is stronger during the daylight hours, drawing in energy from the sun. He was also a part of the Black Legion, serving Weapon Omega, aka Logan, and defended the Apocalypse ship in Manhattan. In at number 2, Devil Hulk. First appearing in The Incredible Hulk issue 13 volume 2 from 2000, Devil Hulk is an alternate personality of Bruce Banner's that personifies all of his resentment at how the world has treated him, and his own self-hatred. While he's trapped inside of Banner's mind, he's constantly threatening the hero with his escape, and his plan to destroy the world that harmed them so if he does escape. He can create illusions, and within Banner's mind he has super strength, speed, endurance, reflexes, and durability, possessing the same talents that the regular Hulk has. It took both the Savage Hulk and Joe Fixit Hulk in order to hold Devil Hulk down. Some believe that rather than this depicting its physical strength, this speaks to Devil Hulk's willpower, having been a more dominant persona than the other two. Having been a more dominant persona that the other two more child-minded Hulks had difficulty keeping at bay. The Devil Hulk has also appeared as an incarnation of Bruce's abusive father, feeding off of Bruce's anger and hate, getting stronger the angrier Bruce gets. And finally, in at number 1, Guilt Hulk. Guilt Hulk is similar to our last number in a way. It's a villainous version of the big green monster that first appeared in Incredible Hulk Volume 2 issue 377. He's a malevolent representation of Bruce's father, who was an abusive man who caused the death of his mother. Guilt Hulk is the manifestation of Bruce's childhood memories, embodying all of Bruce's guilt, shame, and regrets, all while having Bruce's mind and intellect. He comes to be when Banner goes under hypnosis in an attempt to unify his fractured mental state. Guilt Hulk ends up screwing with Banner, interrupting his treatment. And here's the catch. Guilt Hulk only exists in the mind of Bruce Banner. Had it existed outside of his mind, he would be a ridiculously powerful threat. Not only did he have the same abilities as the regular Hulk, he was enormous in size, covered in spikes, could breathe fire, had claws and fangs, and could fend off 2 other Hulks at once. And in addition to that, he had the psychological factor. He could torment Bruce and his other personalities via Bruce's memories whenever he wanted. Or at least when Bruce was susceptible.
Number 10. Bruce Banner, Earth 12,091. Now, not a whole lot is known about this alternate universe, but they do have a pretty crazy looking Hulk nonetheless. In this reality, Bruce Banner was mutated into the Hulk by undergoing some gamma radiation experimentation, so pretty standard so far, but his appearance is vastly different than the Hulk that we're familiar with. This Hulk is like an electric green color and is a bit more risque because he doesn't wear any clothes, which is okay, I guess, because he's got kind of, Ken doll in it, if you know what I mean. Not to mention that he has 4 absolutely massive arms, effectively making him twice as strong as any other Hulk. After this transformation, he gained the reputation for destroying spaceships, and any attempts to stop him by Thunderbolt Ross were always thwarted. He attacked the hideout of Barracuda when the Punisher tried to gain information about the 6-fingered hand, and he killed a decent amount of the mercenaries hired to kill the Punisher, but was enraged by the leader's sonic device. The Punisher managed to escape before the Hulk could kill him, which you can assume he could have done very easily. Check out this monstrous Hulk for yourself in his first appearance in 2012 Space Punisher number 2. Number 9. Skulk. Hailing from Earth 9602, the Amalgam Universe, Bruce Banner was a scientist experimenting with radiation, and one day an experiment he was working on went horribly wrong and fused him with the elemental entity known as Solomon Grundy, and he became known as the Skulk. With the powers of the Hulk and Solomon Grundy combined, you can probably figure out for yourself why this would be pretty scary. After a confrontation with Dr. Strange Fate showed Skulk that he could keep the Skulk in his human form with the use of magic. The Skulk agreed to work as an agent for Dr. Strange Fate in return for Strange Fate keeping Skulk in the form of Bruce Banner for most of the time. This version of the Hulk is actually a rather gentle soul because upon finding access, Bruce actually tried to have a conversation with him rather than immediately jumping into battle because he thought that Access seemed like a really lost and lonely child in the world. This didn't last for long though because it did get to the point where he transformed into the Skulk and attacked him with just plain old brute force. Skip ahead a little bit to a mysterious villain attacking the Amalgam Earth city by city, and Lobo the Duck awoke in the ruins of Manhattan and found himself as the last remaining survivor among the heroes. Now the Skulk's body was never actually found among the other heroes, but it can be assumed that he is no longer living. Check out this character for yourself, starting with their first appearance in 1996's Doctor Strange Fate number 1. Number 8. The Incredible Thing. In an alternate reality, Earth 295 to be exact, Bruce Banner never actually became the Hulk and mutants rule the world. In an effort to combat them, Bruce, under the order of Thaddeus Ross, is tasked with creating an army of super soldiers, however all of his efforts fail. Banner moves to Europe not too long after and becomes a member of the Human High Council, the ruling body of the surviving human population. Oddly enough, Banner longed to become a mutant in order to escape being a second-class citizen, and caving into the moral low ground, Banner sold himself to one of the Horsemen of the Apocalypse in order to experiment on mutants and eventually himself. The result of the experiment was The Thing, a gray Hulk variant that Banner could revert between at will. Ben Grimm and Sue Storm were the first to encounter the Thing, and Sue shot him in the side of the head. The Thing fled and turned back into Banner, but neither Sue nor Ben connected the two events together. Fast forward a little bit to when Bruce, alongside Tony Stark, is escaping the Earth's orbit, and we see humanity under fire from a bunch of missiles. They were able to destroy all except for one, an adamantium bomb that Bruce had invented himself. So, as the Thing, he jumped out of the spacecraft and diverted the bomb so that no one would have to die from it. Forcibly reverting back to his human form, he fell down to Earth and was captured by Apocalypse. After an unidentified period of time, he revolts against the Alphas and Apocalypse, but sadly this ended in his death. Check out this Bruce Banner for yourself in 1995's X-Universe number 1. Number 7. Infernal Hulk. Are you familiar with Earth 11,638? It is an alternate universe that is seemingly a utopia because Spider-Man's loved ones are still alive, and Bruce Banner finally separated from the Hulk, and Wade Wilson never had to become Deadpool. However, he did end up becoming the villain Deathmask, but we'll just sort of, gloss over that one. After Bruce Banner became Dr. Banner, the Sorcerer Supreme of this universe, he separated himself from the Hulk and banished him to Hell, where he became the Infernal Hulk. When the Bruce Banner of Earth 616 traveled to this universe with Spider-Man and Deadpool, the Infernal Hulk was able to get free from Hell by trading places with the Hulk persona of Earth 616's Banner. He immediately went after Bruce, who was saved by Spider-Man and Deadpool. Together with his counterpart, Spider-Man and Deadpool, the Sorcerer Supreme Banner came up with a plan to defeat the Infernal Hulk once and for all by reversing the banishing spell and then snapping Bruce's neck before the Infernal Hulk could take control of his body. Check out this devilish Hulk for yourself in their first appearance in 2011's Deadpool Annual number 1. Number 6. John Eisenhart. On Earth 928, the alternate Earth that is set in 2099, and it is a vastly different world than we are familiar with because the Age of the Heroes has ended and much of the world is run by violent and evil companies. Head over to Los Angeles and we meet John Eisenhart, the Hulk of 2099. John gained his Hulk-like abilities from the Knights of Banner, a cult that worshipped the original Hulk, who wanted nothing more than to create a new Hulk. Their gamma gun accidentally fired and hit John, and he was transformed into a 12-foot tall gamma beast with razor-sharp claws and fangs, a long tongue, and massive muscles. Hulk 2099 dedicated himself to defending the people from monsters like Draco and became a leader in a rebellion against them. After President Victor Von Doom's takeover of America, John stole a gamma device from one of Doom's henchmen in order to keep it from Doom himself. Now this device was similar to the one that granted John the ability to transform into his Hulk-like form in the first place. Draco threatened John with a massive bomb placed directly on the city's fault line if he didn't turn the gamma device over to him. In the ensuing battle, the bomb detonated and triggered a massive earthquake, and the earthquake set off the gamma device that resulted in a massive explosion laying waste to the city. John emerged from the rubble, mutated even more so by the radiation emitted from the device. His mutation eventually did stabilize and he returned to his original form just prior to S.H.I.E.L.D. agents arriving in the region. While battling them, John seemed to perish, and well, that's the last that we've seen of him. Give his story a read for yourself in 1993's 2099 Unlimited #1. Number 5. Bruce Banner, Earth 9591. In the Marvel Universe, scientific accidents tend to lead to fabulous powers. However, in the real world, a scientific accident typically leads to serious injury or even death. After all, if a regular person were caught in the explosion of a gamma bomb, they definitely wouldn't gain green skin and super strength. Odds are they would just get probably really sick and die. With that in mind, let's meet Bruce Banner from the miniseries Ruins. Written by Warren Ellis, Ruins is a dystopian twist on the Marvel Universe, where everything that can and does go wrong goes wrong. In this twist on the classic origin story, Rick Jones is a morphine addict that wandered into the testing site of a gamma bomb. The heroic Bruce Banner rushes to save him and is caught in the blast of the bomb, but instead of becoming the Jade Giant, Bruce Banner is consumed with a mess of green tumors which tear Banner apart from the inside out. Much like the Peter Parker of this universe, Banner is currently believed to be held captive by the CIA for research purposes. Give the storyline a read for yourself in 1995's Ruins #1. It answers a lot of questions that I personally didn't know I wanted the answers to. Number 4. Hulk Earth 2081. After a war which ended in a violent nuclear holocaust that wiped out all life on Earth, wanting to get away from the few remaining survivors would return to the Gamma Cave in New Mexico, where he'd seal himself off with a boulder. Many years later, Bruce would free himself from his imprisonment by a recorder, who was sent to record the demise of humanity at the request of a number of races. Though Bruce at first assumed they wanted to learn from humanity's mistakes, the recorder then informed him that they just wanted to make sure that they were all actually dead. Though Bruce at first refused to believe that everyone was dead, asking if it was some kind of joke, he soon came to accept it. He would then ask the recorder if he was going to kill him as well to, be sure. And the recorder then asked Bruce if he wanted to die, to which Bruce then responded, no, why would I want that? Bruce spent the next several years wandering across the ruins of the old cities trying to remember what he could of the old world. Later, Bruce suffered a painful heart attack, and how much his punishment resembles that of Prometheus, the last Titan, condemned to stay forever alive even while animals devoured him. As he died, the Hulk's persona arose in his mind. Banner would plead with the Hulk, begging him to simply let go of his conflicts, claiming that they were going to a paradise where all their dead friends were, where they could be happy. Hulk threw away his suggestion thinking it was a trick, and because in his eyes, friends had always betrayed him. With Banner completely gone, the Hulk was left completely alone in an empty world. Check out this one-shot storyline in 2002's Incredible Hulk, The End. Number 3. Zombie Hulk. That's right, it's Jack talking about the zombieverse once again, my big favorite. In the world of Marvel Zombies, the Hulk is the hungriest one there is. After an unnamed hero driven by the hunger crashes on Earth and infects the Avengers with a zombie virus, the world spirals into a zombie apocalypse. Once valiant heroes resort to stomach-churning acts to fulfill their craving for human flesh, and the world becomes a battle for the strongest for scarce resources. A roaming band of zombies composed of, or I guess decomposed since they're zombies, of former heroes such as Spider-Man and Wolverine, kill and eat their way across the planet with a zombified Hulk serving as the Twisted Team's muscle. The group eventually crossed paths with the Silver Surfer, who was subsequently brutally killed by the Hulk and eaten by the group, imbuing the zombies with the cosmic power, allowing the former heroes to take to the stars to eat their way across the galaxy. 40 years later, Hulk returns to the Earth to find a colony of human survivors in New York, known as New Wakanda. After Giant Man declared a plan to create a breeding program to have food for eternity, Spider-Man and Luke Cage rebelled and fought Tony and the others. A force field was activated, protecting Black Panther's stronghold and the survivors, but sealed Gladiator and an unconscious Bruce Banner inside and cut Luke Cage in half. Hulk eventually escapes, and after eating Reynolds, Hulk transformed back into Bruce and voluntarily was eaten by the zombies so that he could cause no more damage to anyone. You all already know that this is one of my favorite universes, so check out Zombie Hulk for yourself, starting with his first appearance in Marvel Zombies Dead Days #1. Number 2, Maestro. While the Hulk has traditionally served as a tragic anti-hero, the supervillain known as the Maestro served as a reminder that the Hulk is really only one bad day away from becoming the most dangerous foe mankind has ever encountered. This alternate future version of the Hulk hails from a Earth ravaged by nuclear war. Driven mad by the death of his friends and from continued exposure to radiation, the Hulk christens himself the Maestro and appoints himself the ruler of this war-torn dystopia. Retaining the intelligence of Bruce Banner, but with the enhanced strength brought on from the radiation, the Maestro rules unopposed, splitting his time between torturing those who have crossed him and admiring his trophy room filled with the weapons and costumes of his fallen comrades. When the modern day Hulk is sent forward in time, he ends up clashing with his future self, eventually triumphing over the cocky Maestro. While the Maestro hails from a possible future, the Hulk lives in constant fear that one bad move could put him on the path to becoming this tyrannical ruler. Fast forward through some pretty cool events that you should definitely read for yourself, and we see the Maestro go up against Logan, who unsheathed his claws and just decapitates him. Give the story a read for yourself, starting with 2017's Old Man Logan, Volume 2, number 25. And number 1, Pappy Banner. This version makes me so uncomfortable it's not even funny. So similar to his 616 counterpart, Bruce Banner of Earth 21,923 began as a hero, or as much of a hero that the Hulk can be. No one really knows how or why or when, but Bruce Banner had a very drastic shift in personality and became a villain, many believing it to be probably because of the prolonged exposure to radiation. When the villains took over in this alternate world, Banner joined in on the hero slaughter, eliminating Thor and so many others. Banner later took over a large portion of California and Nevada as his own and named it Hulkland. He also made the decision to mate with his first cousin She-Hulk and sired a group of inbred Hulks called the Hulk Gang. Through intimidation alone, they forced people living there to pay rent or face having their property taken and even death. One of the people that was extorted was Logan, who had become a pacifist at the time. Then one day, the Hulk Gang killed Logan's family, causing him to abandon his pacifist beliefs, and in anger, Logan killed almost the entire Hulk Gang and its leader, Pappy Banner. Understand why this Hulk makes me so uncomfortable? If you feel like you've got it in you, check out Pappy Banner for yourself in this first appearance in 2015's Old Man Logan, number 4.
Number 10, Claw. Claw is actually an alternate persona of the Hulk that resides within the character in the reality of Earth 616. So not an alternate in terms of being from another world or reality, but still an alternate in terms of him being a very different version of the character than what we're used to seeing. Claw even looks very different to the Hulk. When it comes to the heroic version we're used to seeing and reading in the comics, Claw couldn't be more different. He is basically the polar opposite, being malicious, vicious, and evil-minded in nature and behavior. And if you're like, well, the Hulk is he can be pretty bad sometimes. He's like got a heart of gold though, the Hulk. The Hulk's lovely. Number 9, Age of Apocalypse. In the reality of Earth 295, aka Age of Apocalypse, Bruce Banner never saved Rick Jones from the Gamma Bomb test in order to become the Hulk. Instead, he became the Thing as a result of experimenting on himself after Apocalypse had conquered the Earth. Banner with General Thaddeus Ross was part of humanity's last stand. He would end up betraying the Human High Council and pledge his loyalty to Mikhail in exchange for test subjects. Banner would then discover how to transform into the giant grey super strong beast known as the Thing, and would eventually kind of flip sides once more to protect the humans from a gamma bomb that he himself had designed. Following this, he would become green and end up as Apocalypse's captive. And friends, before we move on to the next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more lists like it, be sure to show us by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 8, Starman. Starman is an alternate version of the Hulk who comes to us from the Marvel What If story from issue 91 of the second series. In this story, we get to see a version of the Hulk where it is the alternate monstrous persona known here as Starman that is actually the kind, gentle, heroic side of this character. And Bruce Banner himself, who is actually the true monster. He's the not so good side of the character, the villain side. Bruce Banner here is a colonel who is obsessed with his job developing weapons for the military. A lot of the rage that he lives with ends up being taken out on his wife and his romantic partner, Betty Ross, to the point that she tries to in fact get out of the relationship, talking to her father about it, but her father basically dismisses her pleas. In the end, Starman is unable to help Betty, who is committed to a mental health facility by Doc Samson, after Colonel Banner threatens him. Doc Samson was actually gonna try to help Betty, but it didn't work out. It's such a sad, awful story, but such a strange version of the Hulk as well.
Starman. Number 7. Hulkbot 3000. The Hulkbot 3000 was kind of a roundabout invention of Tony Stark's. He created the builder bot group known as the Smiths, which in turn made Hulkbot. Hulkbot 3000 was actually created to test a crown that could alter a person's behavior, which was actually created in the hopes of curing Tony's alcoholism. True story. Though he claimed the crown was being developed in order to help with the Hulk's often raging personality. What's really odd about Hulkbot though, other than the creation's purpose for existing, is that Hulkbot 3000 is only one of the many different robot versions of the Hulk to exist in the comics, and even in the 616 universe. Like, there have been a lot of Robo-Hulks. I could probably do a top 10 list on robot Hulks. Number 6. Breaker Apart. Also known as the Breaker of Worlds, this is a version of the Hulk belonging to an alternate future that doesn't yet have an official number, but was given the temporary reality number of Earth 781 for now. So we'll just have that number here because you never know, it could become official. He makes his first appearance in the Immortal Hulk series in issue 20, but wouldn't be given the name Breaker Apart until issue 25. In this alternate future, Hulk ends up surviving until the end of the universe due to his immortality. He ends up being possessed, however, by the One Below All and killing some of his universe's most powerful beings, including Galactus and Franklin Richards. Breaker Apart later garners the attention of the sentience of the universe, who looks to merge with him in order to create the beginning of a new universe or cosmos. This is probably also one of the most powerful alternate versions of the Hulk because he basically becomes like Galactus. Evil Galactus? Galactus already is pretty evil, I guess. Galactus to me is neutral. He's just hungry. He's cool. Number 5. Ruins. In the Ruins reality of Earth 9591, the Hulk isn't quite as fantastical or as fabulous as our 616 version of the characters. So fabulous. Runes is a series that allows us to get a glimpse of an alternate reality where superpowers are more like curses or death sentences, more realistic to how things might actually go for those who received them in the real world, like the Hulk. Here, Bruce Banner does rush onto the Gamma Bomb test site in an attempt to protect Rick Jones, who wandered onto the testing grounds. However, he doesn't gain a giant, super strong and all-green persona as a result. Instead, he becomes riddled with multiplying green tumors, which ultimately tear him apart from the inside out, mutating him into something much more horrific to behold. It's both weird and terrifying. Number 4. 1,000 Hulks. What if there wasn't just one Hulk, but multiple Hulks? Hundreds of Hulks, if you will. That is a reality we explore in the alternate reality belonging to issue 71 of the second volume of What If. In that issue, we get to explore a world where gamma bombs end up being dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and transforms hundreds of people. This actually gives the people of Japan a powerful army of Hulks, which allows them to conquer the US and rule over them for years. While one Hulk is already pretty strange, living in a reality where there are multiple Hulks who created a Hulk army seems even more bizarre by comparison. Number 3. Orange Hulk. Maybe one of the most random alternates out there. Orange Hulk hails from the reality of Age of Apocalypse. Unlike the other version we talked about way earlier on this list, Orange Hulk has no attachment to Bruce Banner, and as a matter of fact, we don't actually know who he really is under all that orange and all that Hulk. What we do know is that Orange Hulk is solar powered, gaining strength from the sun, and is in fact implied to be stronger during daylight hours because of this. Orange Hulk serves on Weapon Omega's Black Legion team, and honestly, every time I see him, he makes me want some Sunny D. That's not any kind of paid endorsement, to be clear, that's just the truth. Also, I just really like Sunny D. Number 2. Groovy Hulk. Groovy Hulk is the nickname for the alternate version of the Hulk that we get from the original What If series. In issue 12 of the series, we get to discover what the world would be like had Rick Jones become the Hulk instead of Bruce Banner, with Rick Jones throwing Banner into the trench at the last second instead of the other way around, taking the full brunt of the gamma radiation himself. Oh no, Rick Jones! Rick's version of the Hulk had a notably cooler way of speaking, being heavily influenced by the groovy slang of the 60s. I suppose because Rick was a young and hip teenager, so that's how he talks instead of the other way that the Hulk talks. And that's not even the weirdest part about this whole story. It also comes with a convenient ending where Bruce Banner finds a way to fix Rick, causing him and the Hulk to split. Hulk is stuck in the negative zone but finds happiness and a girlfriend randomly there, becoming their champion, while Captain Marvel is also affected by Banner's cure for Rick, being tied to him as well. The treatment also happens to cure Marvel's cancer. Gotta love a weird cure-all happy ending. Number 1. The Hulk Dogs. What is weirder than 1,000 Hulks? How about a few doggo Hulks? That's right, I did not forget about 2003 Hulk. In that film, there were 3 dog versions of the Hulk, each dog a member of a different breed, that were made by David Banner, Bruce's father. One of them is a poodle. Just remember that. David planned to use the dogs to track down and kill Betty Ross. This of course put them into direct conflict with the Hulk himself, who is forced to fight all 3 dogs, who honestly kinda almost succeed in defeating him at one point and getting to Betty. Of course, in the end, Hulk saves Betty and ends up winning. I'm just thinking of how Betty's like, what do I do? Do I go? Do I stay? There's so many shots of her just in the car like, the dogs are still here. It kills me. Okay, anyways. Oh, 2003 Hulk. Of course, in the end, Hulk saves Betty and ends up winning out against all 3 Hulk doggos. Poor Hulk dogs. They didn't deserve that.
Kicking off the list at number 10, Grey Hulk. One of the more badass versions of the Hulk was also the earliest. See, originally Stan Lee wanted the Hulk to be grey, but ink problems made him green. The Incredible Hulk made his first smashing appearance in 1962 when a teenager Rick Jones was about to be caught up in a gamma bomb test. Scientist Bruce Banner ran out and threw him to safety, but in doing so he himself was caught in said explosion, and in turn he was irradiated with radioactive particles, becoming the Grey Hulk. Our green guy, the main 616 Hulk, is referred to as the Savage Hulk, and Grey Hulk is said to be weaker. They made him an entirely different version in the comics to help explain the color change. They were both fighting to control Bruce. Things get spicy during Peter David's run when we meet Joe Fixit, this mobster Grey Hulk working at a casino. Imagine this guy asking you for your ID. I would bring 5 pieces and a passport, just to be safe. So intimidating. And his hat too, like he looks friendly, but he also looks like when he shakes your hand, he's gonna break all your knuckles. Number 9. Skulk. Coming to life in Doctor Strange Fate issue 1 back in 1996, Marvel's Bruce Banner combined with DC's Solomon Grundy. How fun. Another grey version, but a little more out there this time around. Solomon appeared right before Bruce Banner was caught in that gamma bomb explosion, so now the two ended up fusing together, creating Skulk. Skulk was taught by Doctor Strange Fate that in order to remain in human form, you need the assistance of magic. Black Widow's palm dances will not work in this universe, my friend. So Banner was like, alright, I'll work for you, just make sure I don't become that awful pale monster. Deal? Deal. Great, awesome. Skulk's last comic was in Lobo the Duck issue 1 just a year later. He died in the destruction caused by the Gold Kidney Lady. Yes, you heard me correctly. And before we list off some other fun versions of the Hulk, if you want to Skulk smash that like button, that would be lovely. Those clicks really do help us out a lot here. You all rock, now let's keep this list going. Number 8. Peter Parker. Looking now to the 2006 bullet point storyline, if you haven't already guessed from the title, this one's a superhero swap. We love those. Now this is a life where Uncle Ben, well, still died, but he died a lot earlier, so unfortunately he wasn't around to mentor Peter. Give him the whole with great power comes great responsibility rundown. So now Peter's stealing Jeeps, he's blasting Green Day and flipping off the elderly, just the complete opposite guy that we know and love. During the Jeep joyride, it ran out of gas, so Sneaky Pete went off to look for some more to help fill up. Now while he was searching, that's when he just happened to stumble across that gamma bomb test, and he didn't realize that he had this Hulk side to him until later on that night. His friends got in trouble, so they blamed Peter, and that's when he got really angry, and then he turned into the Hulk for the first time. It was nuts. Aunt May straight up had a heart attack. More than fair. After this point, retired Steve Rogers came back, suited up as Iron Man, and then began hunting him down. This universe is crazy. Peter Hulk killed Steve Rogers, and he didn't go down until Galactus arrived on Earth. Not a bad run. Number 7. Ultimate Hulk. This version of Bruce is quite troubled. He was taught to just stay out of his parents' way growing up, and he also hated himself pretty much. He wanted to be ripped like Captain America, he didn't like his noodle arms. It was a rough go for him in the Ultimate Universe. So when Nick Fury got together the brightest minds to recreate the super soldier serum, envious Banner was on that team. He did figure it out, or so he thought, but he kept the info to himself. He didn't want any other scientist getting credit. But he took it a little bit too far when he also decided to keep the human testing process to himself as well. He injected himself and became Ultimate Hulk. The first time he changed, he injured Mary and Richard Parker, but down the road he injected himself again, but this time he mixed super soldier serum with Hulk serum, and then he turned to gray, and his first plan of attack was, of course, as you would think, to fight Freddie Prinze Jr. Yeah. Number 6, Infernal Hulk. First appearing in Deadpool Annual 1, this version picks up after Bruce Banner became the Sorcerer Supreme, and his first trick was to separate the Hulk from himself and just banish him as far away as possible. And what better place to throw him than the pits of hell? While in the land down under, Hulk became Infernal Hulk. A little more scary looking than Joe Fixit, just a little bit. So when our 616 Banner arrived to this universe with Spider-Man, Infernal Hulk traded places in hell with the other Bruce's Hulk persona. So now that Infernal Hulk is free and he's going back after Banner, he's pissed. So Deadpool, Spidey, and Supreme Banner, they all figured, okay, let's just reverse this banishing spell, and then as soon as Banner shows back up, we break his neck. Alright, go team, let's do it. Number 5. Hulk 2099. John Eisenhart this time around made his first appearance in 2099 Unlimited issue 1 back in 1993. This is the future, of course, one of many alternate Marvel futures where heroes are simply no more. But fear not, as we still have cults. Thank God, you gotta have those cults. One cult called the Knights of Banner was piquing the interest of Eisenhart, but at this point, he was this LA movie studio guy and he wanted to make a movie about these knights or this Hulk cult or whatever. They're pretty much us in the future. They worship the Hulk, they have meetings, they talk about him, they probably create top 10 lists, I don't know. But when they turned down the money and said beat it, Eisenhart wasn't happy. So he tricked one of the young members, Gawain, into spilling the beans about the cult and how they're performing illegal gamma experiments. Gawain is actually a reference to Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, an Arthurian story that combined the beheading game and the exchange of winnings. And that's exactly what happened here. John reported this cult and its new secrets, and the police raided and killed everybody. All but Gawain. So John tried to fix what he'd caused, but it was far too late. After a gamma bomb went off, he was turned into the 2099 Hulk. Consumed now with guilt as well, he vowed to protect the young knight, and when Draco killed Gawain, spoilers, he figured he would just defend the people from future threats. Number 4. Compound Hulk. First appearing in Hulk Volume 2, Issue 30, Clue is a smarter version of that Grey Hulk that I mentioned earlier in this list. He's an advanced clone, rather, created by Xemnu. Now, Clue was the result of a cloning gone wrong, classic, and then when Clue and Xemnu were fighting Red Hulk, Impossible Man came in, he was watching the whole thing, and he used his powers to merge both of those guys into the compound Clue. He didn't last long at all, but anytime the words merge and Hulk are in play, it's bound to get weird. Number 3. Venom Hulk. Venom Hulk is as terrifying as you think. It all goes down in What If Issue 4. It shows us what would happen if the alien costume had possessed Spider-Man. So if the Fantastic Four hadn't have been able to separate Peter and the suit initially. It's a fun little alternative. It gets pretty ugly quickly, and the other Avengers are called upon to try and stop Peter from causing more irreversible damage. Doctor Strange is hurling spells at him for hours, still it's no use. And you'd think when the Hulk came along, he could just, huck Peter into a few walls until he calms down. But he arrives, and the symbiote sees his power, and he's like, that looks pretty good, I want that, give me. And then when it comes into contact with the Hulk, this nightmare is born. When Thor comes in to hopefully try and end this disaster of a situation, he too is consumed by the symbiote. I really hope we get to see some sort of evil version of the Hulk in this What If Disney show. I mean, Venom Hulk would be amazing. I would love to see this issue on TV. Might be a little long shot, but maybe Grey Hulk perhaps, I don't know. Some sort of evil Hulk is coming, I feel it. Number 2. Lizard Hulk. Still green this time around, just a little more wet and scaly. He comes from Earth 19919. Robert Banner, of course, has a similar origin as the Hulk that we're now familiar with, only he was infected by the spider virus in Spider Island Issue 1. So a little more this time around. Now he's got extra arms and he's even more powerful. just what you want. The Spider Queen at this point is standing tall over Manhattan, with the residents of New York City turning into spiders, which I gotta say, worst thing I've ever heard. I feel itchy just reading that. And as for our heroes, it's probably best if they switch to a different animal's DNA to avoid the whole mind control Spider Queen awful situation. So Captain America gets a hairy upgrade, and the Hulk gets paired with some lizard DNA, resulting in a weird but exciting storyline. Major Godzilla vibes over here. And finally, number 1, you guessed it, Old Man Logan. Remember that time that the Hulk was a landlord and had Hulklings with his cousin Jen Walters? Let's talk about it. Old Man Logan is an absolute masterpiece, first of all. Created by Mark Miller and Steve McNiven, we get to see a dark future where supervillains have taken over the United States. Bruce Banner ended up taking over California from Abomination and appropriately named it Hulkland. An atomic bomb over California changed Bruce up, he charged him, and now he wasn't this quirky scientist that you know and love. Now he's kind of a dick. Hulk Gang is also a treat. We have in total Bobby Joe, Charlie, Otis, Rufus, Bo, Elrod, Eustace, and of course Woody. Good old Woody Banner, what a gem. They come knocking on your door when you don't pay rent. Yeah, and you thought your landlord sucked. Think again. They're honestly evil, like they're literally evil. They killed Logan's family because they felt like it. They were bored. They whip around in style with the fantastic car, and then when Logan returned from his road trip with Hawkeye, well, he was a little upset to say the least. The only survivor once Logan was done with them was Billy Bob Banner.